Because BadgeBuilder has databases as the core of its information storage, it has a number of different features that allow you to manage it in relation to databases. So let's take a look at those very quickly. Under File, you'll notice that there's an entire section called Database Management. Let's talk about a couple of these items and then we'll go in and take a look at them. The first one is revision of database fields, or revised database fields as it shows up in the menu. This is an important one because it allows you to make changes to the fields of information that you're collecting when you enter a new card or edit a card. And the system allows you to both add and delete fields from the database, very powerful feature, so that you are not locked into just the fields that you created when you originally created the database. Options and needs change, and the system allows you to change it with it. Modifying of field settings has to do with allowing you to control some of the output of the way certain fields come out. So, for instance, a numeric field might need to be a fixed length, let's say 10 characters long. But perhaps it needs to be changed to be 12 characters long. That's the kind of information that you might want to be able to set in here. So if you have an existing field and you'd like to be able to change some of the parameters of it, that can be done here. Database information is exactly that. It's going to be information about what the name of the table is, where the database is located, if it happens to be a file-based database or not, the name of the data source, which has to do with the connection between BadgeBuilder, the program, and the database that's behind it. Depending upon how you created your database, you may not even have seen that. If you use the expert creation, then you definitely would have seen that. Gives you some information, frequently something that would be used if you needed technical support of some kind, information that you provide to technical support to allow them to see how the database that you created is structured. Changing of the compression method has to do with the type of photograph compression that is used in your particular database. And the more typical ones are ones such as PCX, which is basically a lightly or uncompressed format, and then more popular ones such as PNG, or probably the most popular one of all, which is JPEG. And this allows you to move all of the pictures between those formats. So if you currently have your pictures uncompressed and you'd like to get them into a JPEG format because it's common and also saves space, you can convert all of the pictures here and it will go through and change all of the pictures for you over to the format that you select. Converting of the image storage method, if you have gone through the Badge database creation tutorials, you'll know that the system has the ability to either store images and photographs and signatures as files on your system, or it has the ability for it to store that information as data directly inside the database. And so the system by default, if you don't choose anything different, will use files, but you might want to be able to move between the two operations in case you're going to change something about the way you're using the data, perhaps behind the scenes if you're using it in conjunction with another system, that kind of thing. So this allows you to move between database-based storage and file-based storage, and you can move back and forth as much as you see fit. One of the next capabilities that you have is only available to you if you're using a database, and that is you might have a situation where you'd like to get the files out of that database and actually be able to save the pictures or the fingerprints out so that you can use them for some other operation separate from BadgeBuilder. And export images is available when you're using database storage to do exactly that. It's currently grayed out because of the fact that we are already using file-based images, and therefore there'd be no reason to export them out because they are already just as files on the system. The next four items have to do with an optional feature that allows very powerful capabilities in terms of database synchronization. And essentially the way that it works is this. If you have a centralized database and then you have, let's say, a laptop that you're using that accesses that data over the network, but that laptop you're going to be taking away, let's say, to a satellite office to add new records and take pictures, and then you're going to be bringing that laptop back. This system allows you to basically make what's called a local mirror of that central database. Basically a local copy with all of the information directly on it on, let's say, your laptop that you can carry away with you, has all of the contents and information that was on the main system. You make your changes, you do whatever additions or deletions or modifications, taking of pictures and so forth, and when you're done, you bring that laptop back. You'll see that there is the ability for you to then further down, synchronize up to the main database, which is going to take all of the changes and all of the pictures and so forth, any deletions, additions, edits that you've made, and synchronize them back to the main database so that now what's on your system and what's in the main system are back in sync with one another. There is also the capability, after you have updated your changes, that you might want to resynchronize your database with perhaps any changes that might have happened since you were gone. You can always synchronize your mirror if you have a local copy to whatever the latest is if you're connected to the main system. The other thing that you can do is if you simply don't need the mirror database anymore, you can go in and you can just delete the mirror database, and then it's gone, and the only copy that you would have access to is the copy that was on the main server. So that goes through some of all of the features that are under database management. Let's go back and revisit one important feature, which is the revising of database fields. This is particularly important for anyone that might have used this version pre-version 6, as this area has changed quite significantly. What we have now done is that when you have fields, rather than fields necessarily being completely deleted, we basically will suppress the showing or the appearance of those fields in terms of existing fields. That way, if for some reason later on down the line you need to get that field back again, you can without there being any significant loss of data. So you'll see that there are currently active fields down the left-hand side here. They all have checkboxes. You can uncheck one of them, and that field will no longer be available. The other thing that you have is the ability for you to add new fields over here, and that means that you can go through and you can add one or n number of fields that you need to add to your database, whether it be a numeric field, an alphanumeric field, a counter field, a date field. They're all available to you. If we click on Add, you'll see that you get all of the necessary capability to create all of the various different types of fields, and those will show up down here. Once you do that, and you say OK, the system is going to go through. If it has new fields to create, it will actually modify your database tables to create those. If you have attached to an existing database from another system, then you will almost certainly not want to go through this process, and in fact your database may not even allow you to go through this process. So it is very powerful. You want to do it carefully. If this is a locally but created BadgeBuilder database that was started from scratch, then this is really where you would want to do all of the management capabilities of it. We're not going to accept any of the changes that we've done here, because all we've really done is had a discussion of this particular capability. That goes through all of the basic features that BadgeBuilder has to do in terms of managing your database.